Hi, my name is Robert Taylor. I'm a new reviewer on the Absolute Sounds YouTube channel. Although I am new to reviewing, I've been an audiophile for over 30 years, and I've worked in the consumer electronics industry. Today I am looking at the Parasound JCM250 mono amplifier. Stay tuned. The JCM250 is a low-profile amplifier at 4.125 inches high. It's 18 inches wide and 20 inches deep. The weight is 42 pounds. Shipping weight in its carton is 50 pounds. So this makes this very easy to ship FedEx or UPS. At 42 pounds, it's light enough for me to move by myself without too much strain. My back appreciates that Parasound. The amplifier is rack mountable and comes with rack ears in the box. The mounting points for the rack ears are on the sides, right behind the faceplate. This fits in a rack space of a 2 RU, which is about 3.75 inches high. The parts quality in this amplifier are impressive. Here are a few highlights. Rel and Nichicon Muse capacitors. It uses FR408 circuit boards, originally developed for high-speed computing in the aircraft industry. And it also has an R-core transformer on the input stage to suppress power line noise. And it uses Biby Music Rail's active high-frequency noise filters. Good job, Parasound. The amplifier puts out 8 watts of pure Class A in its high bias mode and 4 watts of pure Class A in its low bias mode. In Class AB, the amplifier puts out 250 watts into 8 ohms, 450 watts into 4 ohms, and 800 watts into 2 ohms, and says it's stable down to a 1 ohm load. Frequency response is 2 hertz to 120,000 hertz, and the signal noise ratio in high bias mode is 118 decibels. The amplifier is only available in black, and I think it's a pretty handsome amplifier. The finish is very nice, and it looks better in person than it does in any photograph I've ever seen. On powering up, the LED turns blue when it's stable. You also have a blue power indicator there that shows it's stable, and then there's also an LED right here that will glow red if the amplifier overheats. Overall, a very clean, minimalist faceplate, very nice. I'm impressed with the build quality of this amplifier. Very solid, nice heavy-duty chassis, heat sinks around it, so if you have to carry the amplifier by the sides, you won't cut your hands up. The faceplate is very nicely made, and this is a very handsome amplifier. Now we'll look at the back of the amplifier. You have a couple of handles that help you maneuver the amplifier and move it around. Then next to that you have your power socket for your power cord. And then above that you have a master power switch. Next to that you have your speaker connections. These are called CHK Infinium 5-way binding posts. Then next to the speaker binding post you have a bias switch. In normal mode, this amplifier outputs 8 watts pure Class A and tends to run a little hotter. In the low mode, the amplifier runs cooler, but it outputs only 4 watts of pure Class A power. Next to that, you have a gain switch. Now, the gain switch is useful if you have high efficiency speakers, horns, and the like. In normal gain, it's 29 decibels. In low gain, it's 23 decibels. Right next to that, you have your RCA input and a loop through output. These are vampire wire 24 karat gold plated RCA jacks. Then next to the RCA jacks, you have a switch that you can switch from balanced or unbalanced. It only does one or the other, at a time. Then next to that you have your balanced input, and this is a Nutric XLR connector. And then you have your balanced output, which works the same way as the RCA, as a pass-through. The pass-throughs are useful when you're running another amplifier, say in bi-amping or bi-wiring mode, or if you're running your signal to a subwoofer. There are a number of ways to turn this amplifier on. With this little switch right there set in the manual position, that's how you would turn the amplifier on using the front panel power button. When it's set to the middle position called audio, the amplifier will sense an audio signal from your preamp or your source component and turn on automatically. Now that switch also is affected by this little tiny knob right there. This knob is basically a threshold point of at what volume level do you want the amplifiers to turn on. You don't, because you could get a false reading and then the amplifier powers up. Now when the amplifier does not sense any signal, after 8 to 10 minutes the amplifier will power down automatically. Then the last way is the 12-volt triggers. This is done off of a 3.5 millimeter cable connected to a preamp or any other device, and then it also has a pass-through out to go to another input trigger, say on the second amp. And above that you have this little tiny knob here that will select the turn on delay for the power amplifier. So if you turn on your preamp and it takes a bit to warm up, once your power amp turns on, it's past that point of any type of transient noise out of the preamp or source device. Now for what you've been waiting for, the sound. In my system, the bass was tight, controlled, very extended, loads of pitch definition, lots of articulation, extremely detailed and extremely fast. Very impressive in what you can hear at the bottom end of these amplifiers with the correct speakers. The mid-range on this amplifier is outstanding. It's extremely clear and very detailed. There is a harmonic richness and bloom to the sound that's seductive. The tone is true to life on things like guitars, pianos, and horns. The human voice has a presence that's almost spooky. This level of texture is some of the best I've ever heard. The treble is smooth, detailed, and highly focused. It never sounds bright, brittle, hard, or sterile. I'm sure it extends far beyond the range of my hearing. Listening to things like cymbals, you hear the natural attack when a cymbal is struck, and then you hear the ambient decay into nothingness. On Cassandra Wilson's version of the Ann Peoples classic, I Can't Stand the Rain from her Blue Light Till Dawn album, there are only two musicians on the song, Wilson and guitar player Chris Whitley. I can visualize Cassandra Wilson standing at a microphone, singing while tapping her foot. Her voice is about 5 feet above the ground, while her foot taps are at ground level. Chris Whitley, on the other hand, is in the far right channel, slightly in front of Cassandra Wilson. He's sitting down and playing a resonator guitar. He's about 3 feet off the ground. The guitar has a distinct texture to it that's uncommon for most instruments, and you can distinctly hear every note he plays. You can hear Whitley and Wilson both in their own individual spaces. You can hear minute changes in Wilson's pitch and inflection and volume of her voice, and you hear the reverberation of the sound of Whitley's guitar and Wilson's voice as the sound reflects off the studio walls. In exploring my musical library and the streaming services library, I found myself gravitating towards acoustic bass. People like Christian McBride, Adam Benazera, Charlie Hayden, Harvey Schwartz are what I listen to a lot of. I found that Listening to acoustic bass on these amplifiers, you get a clarity at the low end that I haven't heard out of a lot of other amplifiers. Pitch definition, texture, tone are all first rate. This amplifier's ability to resolve low-level spatial cues is nothing short of amazing. Soundstage layering, image specificity, size, and shape are all outstanding. Instrument locations are solid and stable. Instrument sizes are realistic and not shrunken facsimiles. There is an air and space between and around musicians that is remarkable. The sound stage is wide, deep, and produces a good sense of height. I listen to a lot of late 80s, early 90s, poorly recorded digital music. I want to get a handle on how this amplifier handles bad sounding recordings. While it didn't make the recording sound any worse, and they were listenable, it didn't exactly make them into audiophile classics either. The overall tonal balance of this amplifier just sounds like music. It doesn't sound like a tube amplifier. It doesn't sound like a traditional solid state amplifier. It just sounds natural and musical. I'm truly impressed with what Parasound has done with this amplifier. The JCM250 is an outstanding amplifier. Granted, $15,000 is a lot of money, but if you're shopping in this price range or even double this price range, I suggest you take a listen to this amplifier. The build quality is excellent, and the size and weight are also a plus. I have over 200 hours of listening time on this amplifier, and I've played a wide variety of musical genres: jazz, classical, R&B, rock, hip-hop, and even some folk. The amplifier is dead quiet, powerful enough to drive almost any speaker. Its ability to recreate acoustic space in my listening room is among the best I've ever heard. The tonal balance is spot on. The ability to retrieve low-level detail is almost shocking. There's nothing I didn't like about this amplifier. Thank you for watching.